day, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you today. I'd like to quickly introduce myself. I'm your reporter number 17, RANIELLE C. Andres from BSC 1-3. The topics that I will be discussing is about relative deprivation theory and general string theory. Now, let's start. But before I start, I would like to share a quick trivia for you guys. Did you know that criminologists have identified three possible warning signs of a future serial killer that they refer to as the triad? These signs are animal torture, bedwetting after the age of 5, and pyromania. Pyromania is the control disorder that is characterized by being unable to resist starting fire. Okay, moving forward, my goal for my presentation is to help you understand relative deprivation theory and general string theory, as well as their history and prominent people who contributed to or made an impact on these theories. For the next slide, we will have the first trending in our relative deprivation theory, and it is the hashtag word of the day, wherein I will give you words that are related to RDT for you to understand more the meaning of relative deprivation theory. These are the three words that I will define first. The first is the word deprived. Deprived is the state of being kept from possessing, enjoying, or using something. Second one is theory. It is an organized system of accepted knowledge that applies in a variety of circumstances to explain a specific set of phenomena. But before we proceed to the third one, I will share you an example. So, let's say that it's Christmas and your parents just bought you a brand new iPhone. You've wanted this phone for a long time, and you were so excited to receive it as a gift. A few days after you get the phone, and you decide to go to your friend's house to show it off a little bit. When you get there, you find out that your friend's parents bought him a brand new car. How do you feel about your phone now? Are you still as happy as you were before? If you feel a little jealous of your friend or not as happy with your gift, you are experiencing relative deprivation. Because relative deprivation is the belief that a person will feel deprived or entitled to something based on the comparison to someone else. Next, the relative deprivation theory. So it refers to inequality, the idea that people are deprived materially or in other ways compared with others in society. According to Thoughtco.com, social theorists and political scientists implies that people who believe they are being deprived of anything considered necessary in their society, like money, rights, political voice, or status, may organize or join social movements dedicated to obtaining such things. Now, let's go to the next slide, which is the hashtag history share. The idea of relative deprivation is credited to American sociologist Robert K. Merton, whose study of American soldiers during the World War II indicated that military police personnel were significantly less satisfied with their opportunities for promotion than regular skilled soldiers. Okay guys, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to interrupt me. I'm happy to answer any questions as we go along. In the next section, we will recognize the notable persons who studied and contributed to relative deprivation theory. First is Samuel Andrew Stouffer. He was a professor of sociology and director in the Laboratory of Social Relations at Harvard University from 1946 to 1960. Stouffer was born on June 6, 1900 in Sac City, Iowa. From 1941 to 1946, Stouffer led the research branch of the War Department's Information and Education Division. He conducted a series of moral surveys to gather data on attitudes, emotions, and conduct among military men who served in the war. A significant contribution of the study he made to the field of sociology was the theory of relative deprivation. And the project helped to elevate public opinion of sociology as a specific discipline. Samuel Stoffer is credited with developing relative deprivation theory while studying social psychology during the World War II. Next is Walter Runciman. He was born on November 19, 1870 in the Scottish town of Dunbar. In proposing the first formal definitions of relative deprivation, British statesman and sociologist Walter Runciman listed 4 required conditions. First, a person does not have something. Second, the person knows the other person who have the thing. Third, that person wants to have the thing. And fourth, that person believes they have a reasonable chance of getting the thing. In addition, Runciman differentiated between egoistic and fraternalistic relative deprivation. First is egoistic relative deprivation. It is driven by an individual's feeling of being treated unfairly compared to the others in their group. For example, an employee who feels they should have gotten a promotion that went to another employee may feel egoistically relatively deprived. Next is paternalistic relative deprivation. It is more often associated with massive group social movements, like the civil rights movement. Example of this is the feeling of envy felt by middle-class people when they see people on television portrayed as the middle class driving luxury cars and wearing designer clothes is a more common example of fraternal deprivation. Next person is Ted Robert Gurr. Ted Robert Gurr is an American author and political science professor who presented a different perspective on relative deprivation. Gurr explains the link between the relative deprivation and political violence in his book Why Men Rebel in 1970. Gurr investigates whether the frustration-aggression mechanism, which is activated by feelings of relative deprivation, is the primary source of human violence capability. While such frustration does not necessarily lead to violence, Gurr believes that the longer people or groups are subjected to relative deprivation, the more likely their frustration will develop to rage and eventually violence. Can you still keep up with me, guys? Please let me know if I'm going too fast so that I can slow down and you can better understand what I'm saying. So, for the next presentation, I will discuss the definition of terms in general strain theory through the hashtag Guess the Vocabulary. So first, it is a force or influence that stretches, pulls, or puts pressure on something, sometimes causing damage. According to dictionary.cambridge.org, the vocabulary word is strain, and it's correct. Second, it is an idea that is suggested or presented as possibly true but that is not known or proven to be true. According to Britannica.com, the vocabulary word is theory, and that is correct. Let's move to general strain theory. It states that the experience of strain or stress tends to generate negative emotions such as anger, frustration, depression, and despair. This leads to increase of the likelihood of crime, particularly strains that are high in magnitude, are seen as unjust, are associated with low social control, and create some pressure or incentive for criminal coping. Parental rejection, criminal victimization, a severe need for money, and discrimination are all examples of this. These stresses enhance crime for a variety of reasons, the most important of which is that they cause a spectrum of negative feelings, creating demand for corrective action. And one possible answer is criminal activity. Like for example, a man would steal to gain money due to a lack of employment opportunities. Okay, let's go to the next slide. History at work. The ideas that underlie strain theory were first proposed by American sociologist Robert K. Merton in the 1930s, and his work on the subject became particularly prominent in the 1950s. Strain theory, on the other hand, has been attacked for focusing on a small number of possible strains, for failing to explain why only some strained persons turn to crime or delinquency, and for having little empirical support. But general strain theory has made some progress in overcoming these constraints. The idea has gotten a lot of attention from researchers and has a lot of empirical evidence, and is credited with helping to revive the strain theory tradition. However, because the theory is still evolving and more testing is needed, general strain theory's full potential has yet to be realized. The next thing I'll share with you is the notable persons who studied and contributed to general strain theory. The first of them is Émile Durkheim. He was born in Epinal, France on April 15, 1858, to a devout French Jewish family. He developed the first modern strain theory of crime and deviance, but Merton's classic strain theory and its offshoots came to dominate criminology during the middle part of the 20th century. Second is Robert Merton. He was an American sociologist who is considered a founding father of modern sociology and a major contributor to the subfield of criminology. Classic strain theory is concerned with strains surrounding the inability to achieve financial success or the more general objective of middle-class positions. Societal structures can pressure individuals into committing crimes. Classic strain theory predicts that deviance is likely to happen when there is a misalignment between the cultural goals of a society, such as monetary wealth, and the opportunities people have to obtain them. And according to Oxford bibliographies.com, classic strain theory fell into decline during the 1970s and 1980s, partly because research appeared to challenge it. There were several attempts to revise strain theory, most arguing that crime may result from inability to achieve a range of goals, not just monetary success or middle-class status. Our next important person is Robert Agnew. Robert Agnew is born on December 1, 1953 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. He developed his general strain theory in 1992, and it has since become the leading version of strain theory and one of the major theories of crime. Compared to Merton's explanations, the general strain theory provides a broader view of the causes of stress. Like broad range of strains, including the inability to achieve a variety of goals, the loss of valued possessions, and negative treatment by others. So, according to Agnew, there are three main reasons for deviance producing strain. The first is the failure to achieve a goal, like good grades. The second is the removal of positive impulses, like death of a parent or end of one relationship. And the third one is the existence of harmful impulses, like school problems. Now, Agnew believes that stress causes negative emotional states like anger or depression, which are conducive to various delinquent behaviors when coping skills are poor. Are there any questions at this point? Okay, if not, we'll keep going. To the next slide, we have the conclusion. So, when people are mistreated, they may become upset and commit crimes. Examples, like parental rejection, harsh or abusive discipline, criminal victimization, homelessness, discrimination, and the inability to achieve monetary goals. Okay, let's proceed to the last slide. The relative deprivation theory versus the general strain theory. According to relative deprivation theory, those who believe they have fewer resources than others will typically take attempts to acquire those resources. On the other hand, general strain theory proposes that when people don't have the resources to follow societal pressure and succeed, they may resort to crime and other deviant conduct due to the negative emotional drive of a person. This brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope you guys learned something, and thank you and have a great day.